Generational wealth, that's the key. My parents ain't have shit, so that shift started with me.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Teacher's Lounge, and I am your host, Brandon, but you can call me Shooter, and this is episode 1. What is the Teacher's Lounge? The Teacher's Lounge is a platform, a podcast where we're going to sit here and talk about different life experiences with some successful people that I personally know and have relationships with. We're going to teach y'all about generational wealth. If you haven't followed Generational Wealth University at IG, please do so now. Join our Discord. But enough of the promo stuff, man. We're going to jump right into it, man. I got a special guest to join the Teacher's Lounge for episode 1. Episode 1 is called Oceans 3, and we're going to talk to you about why it's called Oceans 3. All right. Every episode attached to the Teacher's Lounge is a personal message between me and that guest. And so we'll talk about the Oceans 3 movement or whatnot. But anyways, I got a special guest here. One of my closest homies, man. This guy right here used to be in the Navy, got out of the Navy and did nothing but big things. I'm talking about bachelor's degree, master's degree, and now he's currently working in the media space. He started off as an actor. Now he's on the ownership side of that house with Common Ground Media, doing big things, man. Super proud of this dude. Just the overall, smooth, debonair, good guy, young king. And we're going to sit here and talk to you about, changing your mind state and kind of crossing over and getting into a space that some people may feel like they're uncomfortable. And we're going to talk about how he started off getting into this acting and then evolving and getting into the media and being behind the scenes and creating, because this guy's creating so much content, man. I'm legit movies, people. Like, you know what? I'm not even going to hold it. I can't explain it. I'm going to let him explain it. That's what you're here for, man. It's the Teacher's Lounge, man. We sharing our life experiences, man. We're going to take you through the what have, could have been moments and how we transition 10 years later and break it back down. And, it's your boy Shooter, man. But no further ado, man, I'd like to introduce you guys to my ace boom coon, Mr. Carlos Butler. Everybody, stand on your feet. Let's go. Hey, what up, boy?
How you doing, man? How you doing? How's everybody
cool,
doing?
Man. I'm cool, and
Great.
I see you got the beard. You got the beard out.
Yeah, man. It's that season. Just letting it grow a little bit.
Hey, you got to, man. Hey, man, it looks good on you, pimping. Looks real good on you.
Appreciate you. I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for allowing me to be here. So much pressure. I mean, it's episode like a pilot episode. This is the start of it. So yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Hey, it's pressure on both sides, man. I haven't done the podcast thing since I had to talk to me nice show with the sports and everything, and with the pandemic hitting and everything, and it just didn't feel the same, man. When Kobe passed away, so I kind of like stepped away from it. And
I respect
but
that.
Here we are back at it, man, on a whole different type of wave, man. I want to educate our communities, man. I want to bring a different mindset to the communities. And I think with this Teacher's Lounge thing and having you on here to kind of talk about, how it all started from, you know what I'm saying? I think it's important, you know what I'm saying? So, to kind of kick things off, like, who is Carlos Butler?
Oh man, that's a good question. It's one of those things where I think I spent the latter part of the past 5 years figuring that out. To be honest with you, it's been one of those things where the natural evolution, if you really have your eyes and ears open and you're trying to learn not only about your surroundings, what's around you and how that affects you, but who you are. And to answer that question, I think I just kind of break it down in some key words. Who is Carlos Butler? Carlos Butler is a creative. Carlos Butler is a brother, an uncle, a mentor, especially to my nephews, an educator. Hopefully, that's why I'm on the Teacher's Lounge, a collaborator, a student as well, because I firmly believe in continual education. It doesn't stop once you get that piece of paper or when you leave a high school or whatever. It's something that continues to go. And then finally, I'll say Carlos Butler is an individual. because there's only one. There's only one me. I mean, I'm a junior, but there's
Yeah.
only one. There's only one.
Yeah, even with being a junior, man, your traits are different from senior. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's only
True.
one of you, man. And just knowing you, I have to agree with all those things and above, man. Like, what one thing that kind of like spoke to me the most was your creativity, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
know you personally, right? I've know all your ventures from the music industry. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? From the clothing industry,
Yep.
doing a little bit of modeling as well too.
Very
What
little.
made
Very little.
hey, hey, those days where you call up like, hey, I need y'all to come model this, and they don't show up. You like, you know
Exactly.
what? I got to put the
But
hat
let's
on.
let's but let's not get it twisted. The modeling came from because I was cheap. I could afford me to model my clothes, So
Facts.
so that's the creative side, But go
Right.
ahead, man.
Hey, rinse and and redo.
Exactly.
Sometimes you got
Exactly.
to do it, man. Especially when you're hustling, man. We're not blessed to
Yeah.
have these large budgets or these large
Facts.
trust funds. Just to whatever
Facts.
endeavor we have, we just throw money in it, man. We got to learn, and I think that's the beautiful thing about it because I witnessed your music career, I witnessed the
Hmm.
clothing lines, I witnessed the modeling, and
Hmm.
now you're on a different voyage, you're on a different path, and I want you to kind of talk about what got you into acting, right? So acting kind of
Right.
unlocked the door for what's next,
Right.
what we're going to talk about. But I want you to kind of explain to the people, you know, what led you to joining, getting into that acting realm.
Um, That's a very good question. Well, the genesis of it really started back in high school, to be honest with you. When I say I'm a creative, I really mean that. I used to sketch in high school. I took art classes and all of that. So, and even like you spoke about our time in the Navy, you got to do something to kind of get you through a lot of rough times. A lot of it was listening to music for me. And
Right.
listening to music, then I started to write music. And I had to learn that my creative streak started. It's always been in me. It just would re-manifest itself in different facets throughout my life. So you
Right.
spoke about the music side of it. Yeah, I wrote music, performed, released 2 albums. That was cool. The clothing side of it was another facet of that creativity. And then from that point, it's just like what's the next avenue? And getting into acting was really, I just auditioned for a short film. And when I auditioned for that short film, and I got it, and I was actually able to get in there and perform and be in that role and be in that character.
Yeah.
It was something like it just unlocked something in me at that point. And then at that point,
Right.
like anything, right? You feel that you may have some natural ability to some extent, but then you have to hone that craft. So I started taking classes, and that's when I started studying method acting, and I did that in San Diego for quite a few years. And
Right.
once I did that, the main thing was really stepping out on faith because I actually I had a horrible headshot, and I sent that headshot out to different casting directors, and the casting director in Atlanta found it, and
Mhm.
it was for ABC's Resurrection, and
Hold
she
it
told
down,
me she's
Atlanta. I see you guys holding it down for the Kings out here, ATL.
yeah, yeah, I enjoyed my time in Atlanta. It's just kind of crazy how it happened because at this point in time, I was just going to take some college courses or whatnot because I still had my Montgomery GI Bill, and I continued to just take classes. And
Mhm.
I was actually studying theater at that point in time. And when I threw my headshot out there, Cynthia Stillwell, great lady, she gave me an opportunity. She said, "Hey, the director saw your headshot, wants you to be in episode 8 on season 2." And
Nice.
the only thing was it was a background role, so it wasn't a speaking role or anything. And she said, "We can't pay for you to come out, but it means something. The director saw you, and that's really your call. I'm not gonna
Right.
tell you what to
Right.
do, but that means something." So I'm thought about it. I had some chips saved up, and I'm me, I'm from the South, from Charleston, South
Yeah.
Carolina. And once I saw that, I said, I got friends in Atlanta, so I'll just go spend some time out there. And when I went
Right.
there, the first day, it was a Wednesday, I'll never forget. And the stand-in Omar Epps quit. He just left the show.
Yeah.
And Cynthia, she was in charge of was on the second team, And just for the people who don't know, that second team are the people who set up the shots. So everything you see on the screen has a whole nother group of people that look like the actors that do it for real, and they
Yeah.
set up the shots. So that gentleman, he left, and then Cynthia said, "Go get Carlos, he'll do it." So they bumped me up in pay, asked me if I want to do it. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here. Why not play ball?"
Right.
So
Right.
at that point, I did it for that Wednesday. Then that Friday came, and they asked me to stay on for the rest of the season.
Right.
So I stayed on for the rest of the season. I flew back to San Diego, drove my car back out to Atlanta, and
Damn.
then I ended up staying out there for the next 2 months. And every day Omar worked, I worked. And Omar was the lead show, so I worked about 3 or 4 days. Got an Airbnb out there, so I stepped completely out there on faith. I didn't have really anybody support me
Yeah.
other than that job. Other than that job, but it goes back to what we talked about, honing your craft.
Right.
When he would rap for the day, I would stay. And the crew took notice of that, and they say, "Well, why are you still here? Omar's not working. You don't have to be here." And I said, "Well, this is acting class. Where else am I going to get that experience other than being on a real life set and
Right.
experiencing that and going through it?" So got to the very end, and unfortunately the show was being canceled. So the very last episode they shot was executive producer Dan Addis was the director, and Dan had directed episodes of The Wire, which I'm a huge fan of. So,
Classic.
yeah, so at that
Omar.
point, yeah, exactly, right. You know, Omar come in, everybody just start
Omar
running.
coming.
So at that point, uh, Dan, he, I just wanted to know a little bit more about his work. So I asked him what it was
Yeah.
like being on the wire, and he loved that. And then he asked me what I do, and I told him I was on submarines, I was in the Navy, and he was just so enthralled by that. He just wanted to know
Yeah.
more and more and more. And so he
It's
asked me, he said,
crazy
when
how when you talk to civilians about the Navy, right? Because
right.
for those who don't know, I'm prior Navy as well too. And me and Carlos served around the same time.
OS2.
Hey, man, talk to him, man. Double pin,
Surface warfare
warfare.
qualified.
Talk to him. So, to us, it was like, yeah, we was in the Navy. People say thank you for your service. You're like, all right, cool. But for civilians, they really like, yo, where you been at? Like, how much
Yeah.
wartime did you see? Like, did you catch Osama bin Laden? It's like,
The one I get, the main question I get, to be honest with you, Brandon, is what's the longest you've been submerged underwater
yeah.
straight? And that number is 69 for me. Oh,
See,
69 days straight submerged.
69 days straight. How many of y'all can do that? I'm telling you now, I've been on one submarine for a tour and I was ready to get off in 69 minutes. You feel me? So I'm claustrophobic. So anything that's already underwater that's designed to sink, I'm not getting on. So kudos to you, brother, for jumping onto that and doing that part. I need to be above water.
Yeah,
And yes,
man.
I can't swim.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'll get into that because that talks about the resolve of it. But
Yeah.
speaking with Dan, he just asked me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to act?" I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." He said, "Do you want to join SAG?" And I said, "Yeah." And so, well, maybe we can figure out a way to get you eligible because you can't just join the union. You have to
Right.
become eligible, right? So he was working behind the scenes for me, and Atlanta's like a work state, and
Yeah.
so you don't have to the eligibility, the only way I can really get eligible is to be able to say a line on camera. And
Right.
he worked it out on the very last episode. You see me, the episode's called Loved in Return. And I'll never forget my line. My line was, "They've been given a chance." And that got me qualified to join the union. And he got me on camera. And that was a gift that he gave me. And I'll never forget, I told him, "Thank you for it. I appreciate it." And he said, "Well, I just want to see what you do with it." And the main lesson I learned from that is one, the resolve. First and foremost, stepping out there on faith,
Right.
because it turned from a background gig where I had no lines and I wasn't even the focus of the camera to getting the line on camera
Yeah.
and being promoted, right, and staying on for
Right.
two
Right.
months. So it's more putting yourself in position to take advantage of those opportunities and understanding them when they do come, be ready for them, and they
Right.
constantly be honing your craft. But the resolve is what came about it because it was lonely too. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Atlanta's definitely a party town,
Oh yeah, you can get
but
lost in the sauce real quick out there.
yeah, exactly. But my whole thing was I went out there to work, man, and I just was trying
Yeah.
to really get into this business, and that's where my focus was.
And I think for lessons learned for my people out there, you got to understand that Carlos went out there just to be an extra in a sense, not getting
Yeah,
paid,
pretty
just to go out
much.
there and kind of network. And it turned
Right.
into an opportunity of a lifetime here, where he got an opportunity to meet and network with some of Hollywood's finest. And he took
Hmm.
that risk, not knowing, hey, I don't have nowhere to stay. I don't know where I'm gonna get my check from to eat. I don't have a vehicle. Went back and got his vehicle, came back. Like these are life lessons where if you ever question yourself, and I'm not speaking to, I'm speaking to anyone that was listening, there's a message behind it that you really have to go for what you want in
Hmm.
life. You only get one life. You get one opportunity, one shot at this. Why not go straight, straight hardcore for it? You know what I mean? And for me, I look at life as that if I come up with an idea or something interests me and I don't act on it, I failed.
Mm.
I don't look at it as if I attempt something and not the best in it as a failure. I think you only fail when you don't try, right? Like prime example, I too got into the clothing business, right? And you
Hmm.
we can probably share stories backstage or whatever the case may be. But I had an exit plan. You always got to have an exit plan for anything, right? And so getting
Right.
into the clothing business is very up and down, and it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of creativity, and it takes a lot of time from you. And then people not knowing, they judge you on, well, how many sales did you make, or
Yep.
who's wearing it? Is someone
Yep.
popular wearing it, or how much money, or what kind of car are you driving? They assume that your business is not doing good, right? But then I look at it like, well, if I made 100 sales total, which I made a lot more than that, but if I made 100 sales
Hmm.
total, that's more than what that idea and initial idea was. To
Right.
me, that's a success. Again, you only fail if you don't put forth if you try something for 2 months, you tried it and it didn't work out, and you move on to the next idea or the next passion or whatever the case may be. But if you come up with something and you don't act on it, like to me, that's a L, man. That's a big ass L. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? To just be honest
Agreed.
with you. So, I'm glad that you shared that story and kind of broke it down, like, the big risk that you took. Because you went out there just on like, well, whatever. Let me see what happens. You didn't have a
Hmm.
guarantee. They didn't reach out to you and say you're gonna have a part, you're gonna be Omar extra, we're gonna
Hmm.
pay you X amount of dollars. Like you didn't know none of that. You just went out there and was like, well, the best thing I can get from this is knowledge and networking opportunities. And sometimes
Right.
that's better than a paycheck in the beginning.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? So that's dope, bro. And so after dealing with all that, coming back from Atlanta and coming back to California, I know you went into one of the prestigious and correct me if I say this wrong, acting schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, acting schools.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. And once I got back, it was wow, that was great. But before that jumped off, I think I had went to New York to do I did the night before with
Okay.
Seth Rogen, Anthony Mackie, and who else was in that? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, that was
Mhm.
filmed in Brooklyn, and I'm in the scene, the what's it called, the Nutcracker Ball scene where they're at the big party, and
Yeah.
they put me in the VIP as an athlete with Anthony Mackie's
Because you're
character. But I
tall.
think I did that, and then I came. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I came back, and then but before then, I still stayed in San Diego a little bit longer, studied method acting a little bit longer, and
Mhm.
then it's that really, what are you going to do with it? And that's when I moved to LA and I started studying at Second City, and
Gotcha.
um and I spent 2 years going through Second City's conservatory program. We put our main show on the stage. Hashtag V2. Shout out to Shooter for coming out to support. He came and saw that show.
What
You know.
what made a straight and made a weekend out of it? What pull up day?
Right, and that goes to show, right? That's another reason why I'm here on this podcast, is not for me to talk about myself, is to support the people who support me, because he made a whole weekend out of it. He came out and supported it, And he brought people with him, and that's the other thing I learned is you really have to create that community no matter
Yeah.
what it is, because whether you're doing something, you got the momentum, everybody can kind of feed off that for a little bit. Then when you don't have
Yeah.
the momentum, the next person in the community is going to have it. And you can feed off that and learn from that, and you can help fuel that fire, and it helps
Right.
everybody move forward together.
Facts. Facts, big facts, man. Nah, that Second City, that showcase that y'all put on, man, like to see you in your element, that jump was hella tight. And I still got my t-shirt and it's signed. You know what I mean? Like that night was dope, man. Like you were like legit in your element, and it was good to see and
Thank
be a
you.
part of it because I mean, I don't
Thank
know
you.
anything about acting, bro. Like I watch movies. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I get it, a lot of people go to theater class,
Yeah.
then high school, college and whatnot, but kind of see that. And that was like an improv almost too. It
Yeah.
was pretty dope how y'all put it all together. And I came to a couple of y'all practices too. Well, one of y'all
Right.
practices and get some
Yeah.
behind the
He's
scenes.
he's a he's a shooter for real.
I'm a
He got
shooter for
some
real.
dope pictures. He had some dope pictures. And
And that was
and
dope.
that was a marketing tool for us as well, because it helped propel the show. Because of your shots, we were able to post it on our IG page, and people were like, "What are y'all working on? What's this?" And a
Yeah.
lot of that was attributed to the professional quality shots. So hit my man up for real. He nice with the camera for real.
Yeah, it gonna cost you, but yeah, I'll pull up on you.
Oh, I never said anything was going for the free. I said he nice with the camera.
So any feds
You have to
watching
work
this
that
and you
out
see
with him.
for any feds out there that may be watching this and you see shooters, because I'm a photographer, so
Right.
relax.
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 Please relax.
So yeah, man. No, so common ground media. Like talk to them about the whole how that established, man, and some of the things that you
Right.
guys have worked on and what you're working on in the pipe.
Okay. Well, Common Ground Media is a production company based out of Huntington Beach, California, and that we're going into year two. Year one was a very eventful year. I mean, just like when you're starting any new business, you're trying to wade through the darkness a little bit. You take some losses and some setbacks, but you also have some wins. And I will say that we have had some pretty huge wins. We have released our first theatrical release, horror
Okay.
film called Insanity. It's pronounced Vibenpot in Finnish. It's a Finnish horror film, and that was released in February 2020. Right
Okay.
before the pandemic hit, we were in Finland at the premiere. We were literally
Dang.
in
I
Finland,
remember
yeah,
that.
for the premiere, yeah, and it
Hmm.
was cool. And so once we got back, the pandemic hit, and everything slowed down for everyone. So one of the other things we were able to do is to get that film on Amazon Prime. So it's streaming on Amazon Prime,
Y'all go
and
peep that right now, man. Go
yeah,
check it
it's
out.
Insanity. Yeah. And then once we did that, we went ahead and optioned a couple other films that we have in the pipe. We have another film called Cul-de-sac that's about a group of high school kids that literally their Uber drops them off in the wrong hood. And they come up on the wrong house, and that's all I can really give you from that.
You already
So
know
it
what
deals
time it
with
is.
yeah, it deals with where we're at right now, with the technology and how dependent we are on technology when we're not paying attention. How many times you see people just walk around looking down on their phone, and then something crazy has already happened. They're like, "Oh, I wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention." So it's kind of
Facts.
that's the theme behind that. So that
Dope.
also we have Icebergs, which is a reality TV show that we
Yo,
shot.
the
Yeah.
trailer. I'm sorry to hey, listen,
No,
the
go ahead.
trailer. I'm gonna have the trailer on generational wealth university IG page. I'm gonna throw it in the IG. Y'all gotta check out the trailer. Like the
Yeah.
trailer is like, go ahead, man. The trailer is legit.
Well, the cool thing about Icebergs is I think it'll speak to the core audience of this show, right? Because
Yeah,
Icebergs is really a show of entrepreneurs in different industries, and you get to follow their journey throughout a season. So everybody's going to have a goal that they're trying to reach. For us, Common Ground is to get our next project funded. So you get to see what really happens when we meet with investors, how we actually set up the LLC, how we select the director. So you get to see the whole process happen
gotcha.
in real time. We have a gentleman who's in high end fashion We have a young lady who's an intimacy coach, and she actually goes to Mexico to treat like an intimacy boot camp for couples and singles. And it's really about getting to know yourself is a big part
Right.
of it. But yes, intimacy is involved, but in a
Right.
healthy way, not a
Right.
sleazy way.
Right.
so so
Hey,
that's
y'all get your
there.
minds out the gutter. All right.
Yeah. Commercial real estate gentlemen. And the whole premise is the reason it's called icebergs is when you see an iceberg, you just see one third of it. You see the top part. And
Yeah.
that's representative. That represents the wins and the celebrations. But the two-thirds below is the sleepless nights, the crumbling up the paper, starting from scratch, not getting
Right.
that deal. And
Right.
how does somebody really go forward with that resilience, right?
Right.
And the cool thing about icebergs is anybody can be an iceberg. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get it, we all root for each other, and that's what it's about. And it's coming
Right.
soon. Hopefully, we have a couple of different networks looking at it. But it's one of those things where we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, just release it independent, man. Independent hustling. Master P
You
way.
know, you know.
I
I might
can't
have to
wait for
holler
it,
at Dave
man.
Dash.
Hey, seriously, Dame
Yeah, for
Dash,
real.
man. Shout out to him because he's really trying to put the community on. I'm saying, like, why are we waiting for people to give us handouts or validate us? Like, let's just create our own opportunities, create our own lanes. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Facts.
keep me posted on the iceberg. I believe I am following the IG page,
Yes,
but
you are.
throw me the insider trade information. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
got you. I got you. I got you. No, it's been fun to create because the main thing about icebergs is not only is a project that we have in the canon, but we shot it during the pandemic. We followed
Yeah.
all the protocols, and it was one of those things where a lot of people, you and I talked about this,
Mhm.
where people use the pandemic as an excuse and say that, well, everything's shut down, we can't do this,
Right.
but the world still turns, the sun still goes up, goes down, and there's opportunity. So
All
we
of
were
it.
able to create something that we could shoot, and something that's fun, something that has legs, something that's tangible, something that's real that people can
Yeah.
relate to. And that's one of the things I applaud you for as well, because not only starting your podcast, but just the generational wealth page, and you and I recommending literature, like, for everybody listening, he recommended stock books to me, and it's just about educating yourself. We talk about that
Yeah.
all the time,
Facts.
and that goes back to what we said at the beginning of this podcast: is being a student and constantly honing your craft, no matter what it
Yeah.
may be.
Exactly.
You A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, so you just got to start where you are and just stay with it.
Yeah, and I think too to kind of add to that is that people like don't use the pandemic for an excuse. That's just pure laziness, in my opinion, right? Because
Right,
it and when we mention wealth, it's not always talking about things that you can touch, grab, or money, but knowledge. Knowledge is wealth.
right,
You know what I mean? Like if you can get out there and
correct.
and, and continue to educate yourself 6 8 months in a certain subject, you can now then resell that knowledge, create a PDF,
Right.
some type of
Hmm.
book, some type of podcast, etc. And then you can go out there and generate wealth. So
Hmm.
yeah, I totally agree, man. My daughter's knocking on the door, man. This is so funny.
Paris.
But
Paris.
yeah, man. So let me ask you this, man. Are you investing in any stocks? How you feel about it?
Yeah, definitely got into the stock game at the beginning of the pandemic. I feel good about it. I feel that I'm still constantly learning. I
Yeah,
also feel that I look at the world differently now. I watch the news completely differently now.
yeah,
It changes your perspective on so many things, and what I do know, granted, like I said, I don't know everything, but I try to pass that on, whether it
yeah,
be my siblings or people who I'm close to. I always ask them, you know, if you're using the product, why not own a part of that company?
yeah.
you know,
Facts.
and that's how I feel about a lot of things. I'm on my iPad right now. I got an iPhone, but I own Apple stock. That's just how it
Hey,
goes.
man,
But
my saying
but
is it's always cheaper to own a stock than the product
right, exactly,
in most cases.
exactly.
And like you said, you mentioned Apple iPhone, Apple iPad. That's
Yeah,
about, I'm not counting your pocket. That's like $1,800, right? Just throwing numbers
yeah,
out there. With eighteen
right,
hundred dollars, you can buy about 18 shares that can possibly double or triple. in a few years. And
Exactly.
so that's my thing I like to say is that owning the product is cheaper. I mean, excuse me, owning the stock is cheaper than owning the product. And
Right.
if you change your mental mind state about how what your money, what you're buying, and kind of and look at it like from an investment standpoint, is like if I buy this iPhone, and I'm not talking to you directly, if I buy this iPhone for $1,000, in 10 years it's going to be worth $100.
Right.
But if you buy the stock with $1,000 in 10 years, you might make 5 to 6 grand. That easy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that's what some of the things that our community kind of miss. Uh, and they kind of are reluctant to jump into the stock market, not understanding. And that's one thing I want to bring um, is that I want our people to just say, you know what, I need to look at my money different. You know what I mean? And it's okay. And I'm not saying don't go out there and buy them
Facts.
retro 1Js because I'm gonna go buy them, but I got Nike shares. That's the difference.
Right. Exactly. That's the difference. It's a huge difference, right? And you win it on both sides of the coin. And I think for my journey and the journey that I see people that I keep around me is just that evolution and understanding that what you used to do or whatnot doesn't define you. You can
Mhm.
always figure out which way to go. And
Yeah,
one of the things that really speaks to that is that wealth, that generational wealth. And
yeah,
how do you do that? Because even within our company, the way that we do what we do is we have each project is its own LLC. So when we speak
yeah.
to investors, this is you can either invest in this entire slate of projects, or if you just like this one project, you can invest in that. We break down the numbers for that. But the main thing is understanding that wealth and who your audience is, because when you're speaking to people with money, they want to
Yeah.
know how they're going to see return on their investment, right?
Facts.
So
Quickly.
for us, yeah, so for us in year one of Common Ground Media is how do we make sure that our investors win? And the first thing that we look at is one, the reason we did a horror project, and I'm giving away the formula right now, is you look at any horror film, you don't need a big name, and you can shoot on a relatively low budget, and you can get a very good return on it. You look at the
Mhm.
first Paranormal Activity, you look at Saw One, it spawned a whole franchise, but those movies don't have really huge names in them. Well, Saw One has Danny Glover in it, but you have at least maybe one name, and you shoot it on a smaller budget because
Right.
horror films have their own audience. There's a built-in audience for horror films. People just love horror films, right?
Yeah.
So one, we pick a genre where we know it has a built-in core hardcore audience. Two, where are we shooting at? You look for the tax incentives. That's why a lot of things are shot in Canada. A lot of things are shot um, even here in the States, Atlanta. Breaking Bad was shot in New Mexico because they offered crazy tax incentives. So sometimes they will give you money to shoot your project there,
That's
right?
crazy. I
And
did
then
not know that.
yeah, this was the learning curve that we went through in year one.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then finally you have the distribution deal. So this is where you leverage other pieces of that formula to get your distribution deal. So
Right.
say I have a horror film, right? That's the one part of the puzzle, but I add a name to it. Say I add, I don't know, we're gonna shoot high. Say Michael B. Jordan gets bored and he wants to be in our horror film. Cool. Guess what?
Yeah.
Not only we have a horror film, we have Michael B. Jordan attached. Who wants to distribute this because it's going to make money? Because just on Michael B. Jordan's name alone.
Right.
So now they're saying, hey, we'll give you, an M or two M's just to be the distributor. So we'll give you that up front. And once you complete the project, then you distribute it. Then you're looking at the back end bread. How does it
Right.
do at that point once it's distributed? So it's just understanding your formulas and how to really break it down is what
Right.
we really got into with Common Ground. And it just goes back to what you were saying about you're gonna get them Jordan ones, but you own Nike. How did you make it so the investor yourself you win? you
Right.
know,
Right.
and that's what
Facts.
you did. So you figure out your formulas and you figure out how do you put yourself in a win-win situation, or you minimize the risk because no matter what you do in any investment, there's a risk associated with it. That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. It's facts. It's always the risk, man. But you got to do your homework. And you guys, and I think it's just the life lessons too, right? And it goes back
Right.
to you driving to Atlanta. If you didn't take the risk, you would never
Hmm.
know none of this shit.
Right.
And
Right.
the beautiful thing about it is that you're behind the scenes, sometimes in front of the camera now, right?
Right.
Majority, you're learning both parts of the business,
Hmm.
and you're learning so much. And now you can package this up and you can teach other people. You're probably someone's mentor now, right?
Hmm.
And you started off as a mentee. That's the beautiful thing
Right.
about it, because you have to, if you're serious about something, you have to take those lessons and you have to pay them forward. That's the only way that we all get better as a community, right? I mention community a lot because I'm very, we're both very proud of our community, and
Right.
we know that the opportunities are just not there. And I love the fact that you're in one industry and I'm doing something different in another industry, and we kind of intertwine. Because the mission is definitely, I want to continue to work with you guys on whatever you guys need. I want to have you back on this podcast multiple times to promote whatever you have in the can that's coming out. Look, I'm using the lingo. Got the films in the can, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go, man. There you go. And like you said, it only continues to grow, and you
Yeah,
have to understand going in that you, like anything, it goes out saying you go take those lumps, but
yeah, big lumps. Yeah,
being able to stick with it, and seeing that success, like you shooter, you got to see the ball go through the hoop. And we
got to.
saw that when we went to Finland. When we went to
Yeah,
Finland and we got the reception we got, not only did we go to release the film in Finland, we went and spoke with Business Finland. And what Business Finland is it's a film commission group that literally talks about different places you can shoot things and the incentives tied to that.
sure.
People, the main thing about understanding this industry is you have to raise money.
Right,
And it's no different with your stocks, right? But you have to start where you are, and you have to understand how to make it grow.
right.
Sometimes it grows like wildfire. Sometimes it grows a little at a time. I'm a firm believer in slow motion is better than no motion. So if you're
Facts.
moving in the right direction, it really just takes something for you to not only stick with it, but to continue to feed it and continue to surround yourself with those like-minded people, and to take those meetings. I mean, we've taken some meetings that had nothing to do with what we were trying to do, but like you said, you take the experience from it. So now the kung fu is even stronger, where I can see it before it even happens. I'm like, I need to
Right,
stay away from this one because this looks very familiar.
right.
But it's all these different things, and there's wealth in knowledge too. So
Yeah, a
that's
lot.
another thing people have to understand, because people look straight to the dollars, which is definitely the end goal, but you don't get to
Right.
the dollars without feeding the knowledge and getting the wealth of knowledge as well.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard for people to detach the two, the importance of having that knowledge and the dollar. And I get it, man. It's tough times, man. And people just like, look, I need $1. I need $5. I got rent coming up, et cetera, et cetera. And I get
Hmm.
that, man. Um, but people got to understand that sometimes that knowledge is it's worth it, man. Look at Tyler Perry, man. He hustled out of homelessness, bro, sleeping in
Right,
his car. He a billion
right.
dollar billion dollar man now. Got his bro. The funny so his studio, right? Tyler Perry's
Hmm.
studio. When I joined the Navy, that's the Army base that I joined the Navy
Right.
in.
Hmm. Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah, MEPS. That was MEPS.
Yeah, that was Mets. Wow.
No, that's where we were doing the duck walk.
Oh, wow.
We was doing the duck walk in one of his office buildings.
Right. You know?
So yeah, he bought Fort Gillum. That's like, if you check my DD 214, I joined the Navy at Fort Gillum, physical, pick my job and everything. And for him to
Hmm.
buy Fort Gillum, like Fort Gillum is huge. It has it's
Hmm.
not as big as like a Fort Bragg or anything like that, but it has its own zip code. Um,
Hmm.
and for him to buy that, man, like he's living the dream, man. You know what I'm saying? So, that's, I believe you and the rest of the common ground, like that can be y'all, man. Like it's gonna be
Oh,
y'all.
yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
yeah. Oh,
You gotta
yeah.
speak it into existence.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you always gotta have goals, I think, that you have to grow into.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having that vision. And understanding that vision is the key thing because not everybody's going to see it. That's one of the other lessons I learned, to be honest with you, is people aren't always going to see what you see because they don't have your vision.
Facts.
So when you're explaining something to someone and they look and they say, "Oh, I don't think that really makes too much sense," or "That seems a little far fetched." You know what? Because that vision isn't for them. That's for
Fa-
you. So
Facts.
you have to learn to protect your goals and your visions and share with people who would understand them and people
Right.
who can help you propel you towards it. Whether they can put you in position to make a move towards it or they just support you
Right.
because that's key. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you can speak to that as well. It's a lot of nights where I mean, we're human, where you feel like, I really don't know, or
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe I need to switch it up a little bit, or I need to step away from this for a little bit. But you got to
Yeah.
have those people in your corner, and I'm thankful that I do have those people.
Hey, no cap, man. I remember when I first started my clothing business, right? And you automatically think, your friends is just gonna jump on and support it, right? And a lot did,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And then there's a few you be like, man, you be like, yeah, you got your partner be like, yeah, man, I just went down to Nike Town, man. I spent about $300-400. I'm sitting there like, but I got the same material right here.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so you kind of like you hate to like almost resent that person or your group of friends. It's just like, yo, y'all really don't want to see me win. Why? You start questioning
Mhm.
yourself and your mental start taking over, and you start looking at people crazy and just like, and you ain't nothing but a crab in a barrel. You know what I mean? You get that whole thing. And sometimes it's not even that. But it can play tricks with you, and it's very important to have your mental health tied, and
Mm.
which kind of segues into my next question is, how is your mental health with the business and with the pandemic, and knowing that you got to be on the road, you got to be in these studios, you got to be in the front of the camera, you
Right.
don't have a behind the desk job, you know what I mean, like you have to
Hmm.
be out and about. So how is your mental health with balancing the two right now?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question because that's something I think in our community that goes pretty much unnoticed. Well, not unnoticed; it's just not discussed. It's
Right.
one of those things that nobody talks about. And for me, I do seek therapy. I'm not afraid to say that. It helps me maintain that balance because I think it's healthy to bounce things off of people who aren't close to you and
Mhm.
people who aren't genuinely tied to what you do. So it's good to have that outside set of eyes. And
Yeah.
I do utilize that, but a lot of it is really finding different ways to challenge myself too. As I've aged, I'm like, okay, on the physical side, yeah, I work out, all that stuff, and there's a certain level of pushing yourself mentally past those barriers with pain.
Right.
So that's a
Right.
part of it, but also learning when to just shift to neutral. Meditation is key. I think that I really try to wake up every morning and I meditate before I
Right.
really get up. I've started practicing yoga because that flexibility goes out the door as you age. And
Telling you.
another thing that helps is just really kind of being out in nature in where you can, because obviously social distancing and all that is still very much a thing. So I usually go out
Right.
early in the mornings and I walk along Huntington Beach and I just kind of get myself mentally there because
Right.
we're all stuck indoors, right? To some
Right.
extent. So being able to say, hey, at least I did go out today. I did, smell the ocean air. I did feel the wind on my face. And a lot of people, may say, oh, that's kind of, hippie like, but it's just our natural state. I think we tend to
Right.
overcomplicate life a lot. Um,
Sure.
we're our senses are just bombarded with so many different things, so much news, technology, everything, and just when you get back to square one, I think that you really need to be able to do that, and that's one
Yeah,
of the things that I really try to do.
you definitely have to simplify your life again, because it is so many distractions out here, like you say, from the media, the things that go around,
Hmm.
especially with that other guy that was in office, um, and social media, technology. You can really, like get drowned. You can drown in that, and to kind of hit that reset button and take those nature walks on the beach. I mean, we live in a beautiful part of the U.S. in California, and we're very blessed to have 70-degree weather in the middle of January. So why not go out and get a little bit of vitamin D, hit the reset button, um, I'm glad to hear that you're in a good space with your mental health. It's very important, and we've had conversations backstage as well about mental health. And for someone who have anxiety, and I seek therapy. And listen, dear community, you don't have to go in. You can do it virtual. If you don't want to be seen in these, or if you worry about COVID, you can do therapy virtual. The same way that me
Right.
and me and Butler, Mr. Butler here doing this podcast, you can do it with a therapist as well too. And for anyone who's prior service in the military, seek out to your VA.
Mhm.
I know I get it. The VA is definitely difficult to work with, but start there and maybe get a
Yeah.
recommendation and get an outside source. My goal as I continue build with this podcast, I want to meet and interview a therapist and have a direct resource to help people out, man. Because, like you said, we're trained in our community to suppress a lot of these feelings, emotions. If you show any type of weakness or crying, then you're weak. Um, and that's not the case, man, because that shit can literally kill you. The stress that you put upon your back each day, or emotions, or worst case scenario, you can go kill somebody. You know what I mean? So it's good to have like an outlet. And one thing with this podcast about generational wealth is it's wealth on all aspects, not even just the money and the financial portion, but just mental too. So I really want to, talk more about that with different people as I bring them on here. So I appreciate you being open and
Oh,
talking about.
oh, yeah. And I mean, I'm not gonna act like it's always been sunny skies for me. I went through a very tough part of last year with the Breonna Taylor and the George Floyd murders, and Ahmaud, and everything. That really took a toll on me. And I really had to take a step back because dealing with the industry I deal in, yeah, there are minorities, but once you get closer to the top, those minorities are few and far in between.
Right.
So it's really trying to break through that glass ceiling. It is a real thing, and I've experienced it in corporate America. I've experienced it in my current industry and just in life in general. And
Right.
I do believe that being able to have those tough discussions and figuring out those answers that can help you is key. So
Yeah.
yeah, I applaud you for even saying that on your podcast, because a lot of people we just want to know how to flip these stocks, and
Nah, man.
how do I get in movies, and yeah, it's that's cool and all, but you can't do any of that
Hey,
unless you're
hey, let me
right
tell
where
you
you
this.
need
Let
to
me tell
be.
you this, dog. If you ain't got your mental health together and you trying to flip stocks, that shit will kill you.
Yeah.
that is that's
Yes.
by far the worst. It's a great investment to make, but it is the worst on your mental because the stock market is a straight roller coaster. You literally can be up $35,000 in 3 minutes and turn around and be down 17 grand. Like it ain't nothing. So you gotta have a mental fortitude stronger than like no other. Like, oh man, strong stomach, mental space. You have to have that mental fortitude for sure, man. So check it. I got some fun questions, man. I know we've been digging into some serious stuff. We talked about some before we get into the fun questions, the name of this episode is Oceans 3.
Here
And
we
like
go.
I and like I shared in the beginning, like each of my episodes will have some type of familiar line or a portion in my life with the guests, right? If I know the guests. So
Mhm.
Oceans 3, and we're missing an ocean.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna let you tell the story of Oceans 3.
Okay. Um,
And it
well,
don't gotta.
Ocean
Hey,
Street.
it can be the Cliff Notes part.
Oh yeah, we don't. Man, Ocean's Three just has such a rich history. But Ocean's Three is comprised of three individuals: myself, Mr. Brand Patton, and another gentleman named Quentin Brooks. And what it came about was just three young African American males who were really in San Diego, just living life. To be honest with you,
We were
we
kicking it.
had we were living life and we were enjoying it because QB, we'll just refer to Quentin as QB. He was doing nights down in San Diego. When I say nights, he had a club and he'd have his own night where he literally would have different people come through. Sometimes he had some NFL guests come through. He had a DJ who was Mr. TreyPZ.com. I'm pretty sure he'll pop up on one of these podcasts and he can
For sure.
kind of connect some dots later on. But it was the three of us and we were living life. And when I say living life is we're going out, hanging out, enjoying the nightlife, traveling, taking trips. Vegas was definitely a thing, and hence the Ocean's 3. If you've seen Ocean's 11, we were Ocean's 3. So,
Taking the heist, baby.
and it was one of those things where it was a fun time in life. It was our late 20s, I believe,
Yeah.
mid to late 20s.
Yeah, mid to
And
late. Yeah.
yeah, and so it was that time of life, and and we spoke about this before I came on this podcast, where we talked about where we were then and where we are now.
Yeah.
And I think it's appropriate to call it Ocean's 3 because it's always good to look to your past to see where you started, see where you are now. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that I remember you saying to me is if we had took all that bottle service money and put it towards some stocks or bought
You'd be
some
millionaire.
property or something, we'd be a
Millionaires.
lot further along than where we at right now.
We'd be-
It's not that we're doing good right now, but it's hindsight is 2020, and it's always fun to kind of laugh at and see that. But yeah, that's what
Facts.
Ocean's 3 is. That's what
I
Ocean's
think
3 is.
I think one of my in my part of Ocean's 3, and you definitely you explained it in a way where we can still keep our where we can keep the other part all backstage, right? But
Right.
one thing I remember, and I knew like we made it is when we were at Club on top of Rio Hotel in Las Vegas, and
The
we was on
Voodoo
the top
Lounge.
Voodoo Lounge. And I just remember like we were just sitting there and we just like taking it all in, all three of us. And we had 20 to 25 people either drive up or fly in to Las Vegas and party with us. That
Yeah.
right there, I knew like, yo, we're taking the heist.
But I gotta right quick before you finish that thought, I gotta give people some context. So the reason we were there was to celebrate my man's going away party because he was moving back to Atlanta and he never moved. It's awesome. That's the funny thing. He had a party in San Diego and one in Vegas. And I was like, yo, this is gonna be the flyest farewell ever because we're doing it in multiple cities. And that just kind of showed, though, even on such a small scale, the ideas that we had to go further and do it bigger, and I think that translates to where we're at now. Like, yo, how do we go further? How do you get a stock portfolio? How do you start a business? And I think that those seeds were always planted, even when we were partying. That's the funny thing; those seeds were always planted. The energy was just directed. We had to change the target.
Change the target. We definitely had to change
the target. It wasn't nothing wrong with the aim. Just got to change the target, like Jay-Z says, right? So I really feel like I just want to give people that context as to why we were there. And you're right. A lot of people drove up to that party, and a lot of people flew in from Atlanta, from I think you have some cousins from Virginia, and
Portland.
it was all over, and it was great, and that's where that community aspect comes in as well.
And shout out to Portland, Oregon, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. You guys are awesome.
Go Trailblazers.
Hey, shout out to the Rose Center. What is it? The Rose Festival.
Yep.
Hey, shout out to the Oregon Ducks. Shout out to Oregon, man. You guys are awesome.
Oregon. Yeah.
Listen, man, I want to kind of wrap this up, man. I appreciate you taking time out, man. Your busy evening, man. I know you watched that Chiefs game. So let me ask you this. Bucks, Chiefs, who you got?
Man, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady, man, but I think that my man Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs gonna have that chip on their shoulder because they keep passing my man up. He still might get the Texans job, but I don't think he wants it because I think Deshaun Watson wants out, and you don't want to go to that dumpster fire.
Yeah, you definitely want to. I don't want him to go there.
I don't want him to go there because this is the problem too with minority coaches. The shot for them to get the shot is so rare. sometimes you take an unfavorable job just to get the shot. And I can give you an example. Steve Wilkes, who was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, took the Arizona job and they fired him after a year. They didn't give him a chance to do anything.
Right.
But he probably should have took that job anyway. And that's my point in that. But Bucks, back to your point, Bucks and Chiefs. I want to say Chiefs, but my gut is saying that Tom's going to do it, man, because it's in Bay and Tom, he's a competitor through and through, and he's trying to prove to people that he was the system in New England, but I'm rooting for the Chiefs, man. My gut just tells me the Bucks, but I'm rooting for the Chiefs though.
I got the Chiefs by 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs in the beginning of the season after I fired my team.
Nice.
I'm thinking about rehiring them. They got a new coach and a new GM. We'll see. But I've been mental.
The boss moves go from beyond trading stocks to just where your fan goes too. I love it.
Listen, Atlanta Falcons was not giving me no return on investment. So for my mental sake, I had to fire them.
Got you. Yeah.
So I'm taking, and I'm not saying I'm a Chiefs fan for anyone out there listening. I after the onside kick with the Dallas Cowboys, I fired the Falcons, and from there on, the only team I had was my fantasy team. So,
yeah.
But I like Patrick Mahomes. I like any black quarterback. And I hear you. It's hard to bet against the GOAT, but I think the baby GOAT he about to really put his feet on the ground. He's about to really turn his legacy, his legend up. And I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns, man. 2 touchdowns.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I got a couple of questions outside of seriousness before we get up out this jump.
Cool.
All right. Share your morning or nightly routine.
Ooh. Let's go with morning.
Okay.
All right. Morning routine. I usually get up about 6-ish. Get up about 6, meditate. I'm on my app, checking to see what the market's doing. I did some research and put some stock watches in just to see where they're at, since obviously the market being 3 hours ahead over there, we got to get on it pretty soon. So early. So take a look at that. I may do some trades there. I might just kind of see what my watch list is. And then from that point, I usually get up and go do my hike about 3 miles up the Strand here in Huntington. And then I'll come back and I may hit weights, may not. Then at that point, I'm usually energized, get into my emails, start looking at production stuff we got going on, whether it's a script that I have a draft of, or looking at a location, or prepping something for something like, let's say, icebergs right now. Who do we need to send emails out to or whatnot? That's usually about. So I got 6. So I say I'm working about 8:30, 9 is when I'm really at it. And then from that point, midday, I may do a second workout depending on what I'm doing. Right now I'm preparing for that road to the 4-0. So my workouts have shifted a little bit. But midday, usually then, if it's Monday, I check in with my mom's. That's her day. Monday to make sure she's cool. And then for the afternoon, just kind of prepping through and getting ready for the following day. Since you said just morning or night routine, so I'll stop there.
All right, sweet. And hey, I like the fact that you get up, meditate, get your thoughts together, take that hike and everything, man. That's important, man. It's important before you just start getting into that work grind. Sometimes you got to take a little time for yourself. Feel me? So that's dope, bro. All right, cool. Right now, 3 silly mistakes to avoid in life. 3. Go.
Oh, all right. First one is thinking you know everything. You don't. 2 is talking more than you listen. I'm a firm believer in you're given 2 ears and 1 mouth because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk.
That's a bar.
Yep. So doing more talking than listening. And the final one is Silly mistake. Not believing in you. It's gonna be times where all you got is you.
Bar.
So all you got is you. So you have to believe in you. And one, I'll give you a real bar. I remember when Jay-Z said, "People looking at you strange, saying that you changed, like you worked that hard to stay the same." It's
Facts.
real. And
Facts. Big
so
facts.
that's how you grow up and level up. So yeah.
Facts. So check this out. Desert Island, one book, one movie,
Mm.
one, I don't want to say CD because who has a CD, but one song.
Just one song. Can I get one album, please? Just one
Okay, one
album.
album, one album.
Oh, you gotta work with me. One song. I mean, I could pick one song, but you gotta give me an
All
album.
right, album. Book,
Okay.
album, movie.
Okay. Book.
Hey, and it can be audio. That's fine.
Yeah. I'll start with movie, and then I'll come
All
back
right.
to that.
All right, cool.
Movie. I think I'm gonna have to go with what's a movie I can watch all the fucking time. I don't know why this one pops in my head, but I'm gonna go with Sicario, man, and I'll tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Because Sicario is a film that deals with something that's very real, which is the drug war and the silence that we don't see and how violent it really is. I love the realism of that movie because I don't think people tell us everything that's going on in the world. So I love the realism and what that represents. But Benicio del Toro's performance in it, I study actors, and a lot of people don't know this about that film, but they stripped down 80-90% of his dialogue. Go back and watch that movie and see how much he doesn't really talk.
Yeah.
Yet his character conveys everything you need to know about him.
Mm.
And just as an actor slash creative, that's hard to do and make it believable.
Right. Right.
You believe that he's a hitman, he's a murderer.
Facts.
Not to be all violent, but it's more about performance of Benicio del Toro. Why I picked that movie. That's the first thing that popped in my head. So sometimes I go with my gut instinct. What comes to me first is what it is. So that book, I'm gonna say the autobiography of Malcolm X. I learned a lot
Okay.
about,
Solid.
I learned a lot about who that man was, and not for who he's portrayed to be.
Mm.
Yeah. So that and album.
Album. I think I know.
You think you know? Well, tell me what you think it is.
Well, I think I know the group.
What's the group?
There's I got two groups.
I want to see, and I'm gonna tell you, you're right.
I'm gonna say the Roots.
Okay. And what's the
I was
other
I,
route?
I was thinking the Roots. And this is more so probably me as far as my
Yeah.
album, but I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
it out there. Outkast.
It's Outcast. It's Outcast. It's Outcast. And it is it's AT
Which album?
Aliens. AT Aliens. It's AT Aliens. And the reason why I pick AT Aliens is because that album defined my youth. I think I was about 15. I'm aging myself when it came out. And when you 15, you don't really know who you are. You start to figure out who you are. You're a little bit older, but you're still a kid, and it's just a weird place to be in life if you really
Yeah.
remember being a teenager, smack dab in the middle of your teens. And I remember I remember playing Mario Kart with my cousin and listening to that album and Riding Dirty, and I learned those albums just playing Mario Kart for hours. And this was when they was on tape, so we had to flip the tapes over to listen
Yeah.
to them. So yeah, it'd be Outcast AT Aliens would be my album. The autobiography of Malcolm X, and then finally Sicario would be my movie on a desert island because I need to be in touch with what's really going on in the world, the ugly side of it, so I can
All three
appreciate the
bangers.
beauty of it. Yeah, so I can appreciate the beauty of it.
And if you was on a deserted island, which island would it be?
Ooh, nice. I'll go Bora Bora. Why not? Somewhere out there. Somewhere out
Why
there
not? All
in
right.
the middle of nowhere.
All right. All right. So check it. I got two more questions for you.
Okay.
Cool shit I'm using lately. It can be an app, service, product?
Oh,
What's the
nice.
cool shit that you're using right now?
Cool shit I'm using right now. I'm using the Quiet Punch. It's a gift I got for Christmas, and it's a puncher bag you put in the doorway so it can travel with me. And it'll like count your punches through the app. It helps me kind of with cardio as well because if I can't go out and be outside, and it was a gift that I got obviously because we're all on lockdown to some extent. So I use my Quiet Punch for cardio and to keep my boxing skills somewhat up to par. So that's a cool thing I'm using. It's called Quiet Punch. Um, it's patented, so if you type in Quiet Punch, you'll be able to see it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Amazon.
And another question. So you got the full on bag. I'm trying to come to your house and hit your heavy bag and your speed bag.
Pull up, man. The gym we did today. I'm about to have the gym popping, dog.
I'll be masked up. I know the protocols. I'll be masked up. I'm with it.
Please do, because the wifey don't play.
I respect protocols.
All right,
yeah,
last question.
I know.
Man.
I saw that itinerary. Y'all got married. She don't play.
And just a cool fun fact: Carlos was my officiant at my wedding, so that lets you know what type of time we on.
Which I'm very honored to have been there and done that. It was a beautiful ceremony, and I hold that one near and dear because for you to trust your special day and trust me to deliver on your special day, that means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Man. Thank you, but like Kobe in the clutch, man, fade away.
With 5 hands in my face, it don't matter. I'm shooting it.
No
I'm shooting it.
No part, I'm not passing you. All right. Your greatest fear.
Ooh. My greatest fear. Like I said, at this point in my life, my greatest fear is not being enough, and not being enough of an advocate for myself, not being enough of a mentor to my nephews, not being enough of a strong supporter of my community and people like you. It's just not being enough. So that's why I try to push myself into uncomfortable things. Like this is my first podcast that I've been the guest. So this is new territory for me. But that and even just like stepping out and just not being enough is tough. But it's about finding that balance because sometimes your best effort just isn't going to be enough to get to the goal you want to get to. So it's really finding that balance, but not being enough of what I need to be in that moment of time is my greatest fear. So I try to play loose and free and give my all every single time.
I feel that one. I feel the same way, man. And one of my greatest fears is more so of leaving this earth with creativity left in my body.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I try to do everything that comes across my head. I was talking to Jason, and I was telling him about an idea I got while I was in the shower, and how that's my thinking tank. I come with some of the newest dope ideas in this new shower that we got. So, so I'm like, okay, I got to push these in motion. But yeah, man, I appreciate you like sitting down. This is episode 1, Brody. Like episode 1. You know what I mean? Man. This is the first one in the can, man. So I appreciate you taking time out, man, and chatting. And again, I definitely want to have you back on here because there's some stuff that we didn't really get to touch on that I want to touch on. But I think it'd be better for a different episode, especially with my daughter wilding right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you know what I'm saying? We're uncut, so I don't care. People don't. If you got kids, then you know. If you listen and you got kids, you already know how your kids are.
You get it.
You get it.
You understand.
But we still gonna rock. We still gonna roll this podcast right out with the baby crying and all, baby.
I love it. Nice.
But I appreciate you, man, and continue to send me over these new books that you dive into, man. I appreciate you sharing those, and I got those on audio for show. And just whatever you need from me and the platform that I'm creating here, or just in general, man. Not even just because I have the platform. Whatever you need from me, you let me know. And if I can be a service, just hit me up. And I appreciate you taking time out to the Teachers Lounge, episode 1 with Mr. Carlos Butler with Common Ground Media. Y'all make sure throw your socials out there, man, before we get up out of here.
Yeah. First and foremost, thank you for the honor of being on your podcast. That means a lot to me. Especially being on the first one. That's huge for me because I
Yeah.
know it's only going to grow and it's going to be something that's great. But you can find me on IG. It's C Butler CGM. That's really the only thing I'm on. I know most people, we live in the era of social media, but for me, that's how I kind of keep a piece of myself. And that
Yeah.
may be an Achilles heel to some extent, but if it's worth, there's a price to pay for everything. But
Right.
most of you catch me on IG. And if you really, really know me, you got my number. You know how to find me. So,
Facts.
and Brandon always knows how to get a hold of me. For anybody out there listening that may have a specific question or that may need to, just connect in some way, shape, or form. That's really it. I
Yeah.
try to keep my life simple because I think I had multiple social media. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
Brandon, it was taking too much of my time because I didn't know how to space it out. I go
Yeah.
from Facebook to IG to Twitter, and it was just too much of my day. So
I feel you.
really, IG
I
is
got
where I'm
everything
at.
but Snapchat.
But you know how to navigate those waters, and that's one of the things I try to pick your brain on. So that's probably for backstage talk. But yeah,
Yeah,
C
yeah,
Butler CGM on IG is where you can find me.
yeah. And again, let them know about the movie on Amazon Prime. So make sure they go
Right.
check that out. Um,
Yeah, the movie on Amazon Prime is called Insanity. It's a horror film, Finnish horror film. It's got the English subtitles, so you don't have to know Finnish. Um, so it's an interesting piece. I don't want to give it away, but it's about friends coming together and things happening. But yeah, check that out. Build Off of Icebergs. That's coming soon, hopefully towards the back end of 2021.
yeah,
And also, other project we have is Sleep Deprivation, where Brett Leonard is the director. Brett Leonard, you can look him up. He actually was the guy who discovered Russell Crowe. He directed Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington in Virtuosity back in '95, and he just finished Pride with Terrence Howard. That should be coming out in the next month. So we
man.
have a project coming up with him. Yeah.
Hey, man, talk to him nice. Chill out, man. Talk to him nice. Hey, my boy out
Just
here
telling him
working,
we're
man.
working over here, man.
Hey,
We're
my
working.
boy out here working, man. Y'all hear him
We're
out here,
working,
man.
man.
It's only a matter of time you're gonna see him on that big shit. I don't know, man. With the way that the pandemic is, I mean, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix,
Yeah.
that might be just be the new wave. And guess what,
Yeah.
people? Your boy got shares. So keep on watching.
Yes, you do.
Keep
Yes, you
on
do. And
watching.
that's another thing we found out. The African Americans make up the highest number of monthly subscribers to Netflix. So that's why you're seeing a lot of content geared towards African Americans because that's the highest number of subscribers.
Dear community,
Got
if you
Yep.
please buy some Netflix, please. Yeah, I mean, I think Netflix is trending about what is it? How much is Netflix stock? I know we're supposed to cut this short, man, but this is the type of conversation. These are real conversations. Like Netflix is at
Right.
$565 a share. That's still cheap. That's
Yeah.
still cheap. It sounds like a lot, but it's still cheap. Go out there
Yeah.
and
It's
go
so
get you
cheap.
about 5, 10 shares because Netflix is going to be probably one of those 10x companies in the next couple of years. So that's not inside.
Facts.
Listen, I am not a financial expert. I am not a stock expert. I do not know. I'm just basing it off the charts, people. That's it.
Yes, sir.
But anyways, man, hey, Carlos, I appreciate you, brother, man. Thanks. Have a great night. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward, my man.
Same here,
Teacher
man.
Lounge.
I know we'll be in touch soon, and
Yeah,
thank you all for taking the time. Appreciate you all.
yeah. And Teachers Lounge. That's episode 1. He is C Butler. I am Shooter. We out.
Generational wealth, that's the key. My parents ain't have shit, so that shift started with me.